Welcome back to the Unraveled podcast. My name is Nina.
And my name is Alina. So I had an interesting story to tell you.
Okay.
Well, I really kind of just wanted to talk today about like dealing with difficult clients and maybe like how we handle it professionally. And that it exists, like it happens.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually had that happen twice this week.
Okay.
So in my property management business, I have a specific client who we took on her property to manage it as a short-term rental. We just constantly had issues with her lack of understanding on how things work throughout the entire management. And of course, I explained things to her, property manager explained things to her, but it just wasn't seeming to be retained or understood. But obviously, we didn't know that until there were issues that she was having. Example would be she left her husband's ashes in the home with renters, and she came to visit, and the renters opened the box of ashes or something like that. And of course, I'm sure the renters didn't know that there were ashes in this box. Also, we told her before we rented it, you need to put all your personal items away. You just don't need that out. Like it's number one, I don't want to use the word common sense because it sounds ignorant of me, but I don't know any other word. I don't know any other way to explain it. If you're having people come into your home and live in your home that you do not know, they are going to be fidgeting with your things. There's no reason you should have personal items out. And I explained this to her before we took on her property. I said, hey, make sure that you get rid of all your personal items, put them in a locked closet somewhere separate, far away that no one else has access to, either but us, my team, or you. And still left items out that my property manager went through the home before we had it listed, before we put it up online, and removed some items that she saw that were still left out and put them in a box and put them in a separate room. But clearly that wasn't everything because there were still her husband's ashes that were left out. So fast forward, she was only letting us manage it for a year because she was going to move back in after a year and move back to Athens. So that was the plan. That was the arrangement. We come up to the end of the year, and which was in May, I believe. And then over the summer, I've been being harassed with a list with items in her home that have been missing. And in part of the reason, in the beginning, I tell people all the time, when you're renting your home out, these are renters coming into your home. They do not respect your home the same way that you do. We do our best to ensure that things do not go missing, and that.
So this was a short-term rental?
This is a short-term rental. So it's a furnished home with items in it. And we do our best to ensure that things don't get missing, but it's never guaranteed.
Yeah.
We can't take inventory of every single item in your home. Like, that's just impractical.
Especially if you don't know. Like, is there a pen in the drawer?
Yes. And I make that very clear to people in the beginning. If you want to take inventory of the things that are in your home, and if you notice something goes missing, that is fine. Most of the time, I'll eat the cost of replacing a few things here and there. And I even have a travel ease protection program that I offer our owners, where I do replace like worn linen, items that have wear and tear, or just small things that go missing. Like I had to replace a paddle board. Different things like that I do as a courtesy, just to make sure that my clients don't feel like everything's going missing. And most of the time it's not everything going missing. It's just little things here and there.
Yeah.
But it's not insurance. It's not insurance. And I was very clear, it's not insurance. This is a protection program that we offer in-house just to alleviate some stress from you, so you can be aware that, hey, when you're going into this new renting situation, that there's some form of protection for some items. That I have a list of the items that we cover, and a list of the wear and tear items that we'll replace. So all of our clients have that before they go with us, and so they know what those things are.
Yeah.
So fast forward to months after, she emails me, and there's some items that are missing that she wants replaced, which are just her sheets that weren't originally there from when she started. So I said, no problem. I'll mail you over some new sheets. So I actually ended up ordering a bunch in bulk because we already have them in bulk. And I had my property manager take them over to her from what we had in inventory and some items that I had to order. And a frying pan went missing. Okay, cool. I ordered you a frying pan, whatever. So that ended. A month later, I'm missing my air fresheners. And I'm like, I don't cover air fresheners. And she's upset. I'm talking about like $10 air fresheners from Bath & Body Works. There's probably 5 of them missing. So we're talking about $50 worth of stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't cover that. I'm sorry that they're missing, but she was missing this picture frame that was sentimental to her. And again, you shouldn't have had that in the house with renters, like I told you in the beginning. And I politely told her, I said, hey, we do not cover that. I've already replaced the stuff that we do cover, and even up to some stuff that I don't even cover, just to basically make you happy.
Yeah.
And we've already stopped managing your property months ago, and I'm not going to just continue. I didn't say this, but I'm thinking I'm not going to continue to just give you whatever you want months after we've already stopped managing your property just because you want me to. And but what I told her is, hey, we don't cover that. I'm not replacing that for you. So, and then she blamed my management company and was like, you guys were supposed to manage my property and you should be preventing theft and all of this stuff. And I went back and forth with her over it for a minute, and then we weren't getting anywhere. So at that point, I just stopped responding, because I'm not going to spend all day going back and forth with you when I've already explained to you in the very beginning how this worked, and you failed to understand that or take accountability for your lack of understanding and learning how to understand more about the industry.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just not going back and forth with you about the situation. So I dropped the conversation and I just stopped responding. Then this week, that was last week. This week I got an email from her, a long email. Basically saying, like, she was comparing the short-term rental industry to hotels, which is two different things, saying that hotels keep a credit card on file, and it's your management, it's your cleaners. She specifically said it's your cleaners and your inspectors and your company's job to make sure that theft does not occur at my home or things go missing. And I sent her a long email. I'm talking like a 3-page email, basically telling her, like, number one, it's in the name. We're a management company, and I have inspectors and I have cleaners. Nowhere in their job title or even in their job name does it state that they're responsible for keeping inventory in your home or managing theft. We're not an insurance company. We're a management company. There's two drastically different things. So I explained that to her as well. And then I also said, at the end of the day, I've educated you as much as I possibly can about this industry. I educated you before you got started. I educated you during the time you got started. You failed to acknowledge that, listen to the information that I gave you. And there's only so much I can tell you. There's only so much I can tell you. And at some point, you have to take accountability for your lack of understanding.
Correct.
And learn more about it. So I sent her some resource links. I sent her some resource links on responsibilities of a management company, risk associated with renting your home out. I cannot hold your hand throughout this entire process and baby you. You're a grown woman. You're older than I am. You're 30 years older than I am. And I'm not gonna do that. Yeah. So that was the last email I sent her. That was actually last night. So at this point, and I basically actually added in the email. I was like, after this, I'm done. Unless there's some new discovery or new thing to talk about, then I'm done with this conversation. And you're not going to hear back from me in regards to this, because I don't have time to go back and forth with you and send you 3-page emails over some $50 air fresheners. And yes, they're cheap. I could have easily replaced them, but that's not the point. It's a principle. I've already replaced the first set of stuff that you asked me to replace to make you happy, even though some of the stuff isn't stuff that we replaced. And now you're coming at me again for more stuff to replace when I've already been gracious the first time.
Because if you replace this next batch,
there's not another email.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm not doing that.
The thing is, she didn't listen to you when it's the same thing I tell people when I list their home. We cannot control what other agents and buyers choose to do. Is there a risk associated with renting out your home? Is there a risk associated with selling your home and having people walk through for tours? Absolutely. That's why I tell them, if you have valuable personal items, weapons, money, any of those things, put them away.
Correct.
At your own discretion. And then if you don't, and for whatever reason, something gets stolen, it is not the liability of the broker.
Correct.
It is your liability.
And I even mentioned in the contract, our contract does not state we insure anything. At the end of the day, we are a management company. We're just managing your property. And there's a list of things that we're responsible for, and there's a list of things that you're responsible for. Mostly 90% of that is outlined in our contracts that you failed to read. And that's not my fault, unfortunately. I can provide you the material. I can go over with the material with you. But if you fail to do your own due diligence, that is not my fault.
No.
So she even told me to the point, so again, I reiterated the fact that I told her multiple times, do not leave personal items in your home. My property manager told her that, do not leave personal items in your home. I said, even if you forgot, let's be real. You're renting your home out. There's strangers in your home. It's a given. People are not going to care for your home the same way that you do. And she was very, what's the word? Like, she loved her home. At the end of the day, I think everybody loves her home, but she was on her home a different level because her home wasn't investment property like our other clients that we deal with. It was her home. She was just gone for a year and was planning on coming back. So she had a different level of care and needs for her home than some of our other clients. So she was a little more attached to it versus just being a profitable thing for some people. And her response was to me was, you did not tell me that could happen. And I'm thinking, if you had done your research, even if I did not tell you that could happen, like, even if I didn't tell you, which I know I told you 3 times, I even referenced the voice notes that I sent her. I sent her screenshots of the messages that I showed her where this would happen. And so let's say I didn't tell you, why aren't you doing your research as a homeowner, entering into something new that you've never been into before? I can't educate you on everything.
No.
And even if I did, you still aren't retaining it.
And some things, like you said, is common sense.
Yeah.
You know, like, respectfully, if you have someone's ashes in your home and you're going to rent out the home, why would you leave them there?
Yes.
Why? You know?
But everything's always our fault.
Of course.
Everything's always our fault.
Of course. And, you know, in our industry, you know, the customer's always right. But are they, though? Yeah. I mean, so something like this. I mean, so what would you tell someone who is considering, you know, renting their home down the road, short-term, long-term? What are some baseline recommendations that you would tell them so that, I mean, use common sense, but generally, what would you say? Usually in my first appointments with new clients, whether they're familiar with the industry or not, I'm very clear that in this industry, you have items in your home, especially if this is like your lake house or your, you know, whatever. You don't leave personal items in there. You have an owner's closet. You keep those items locked away. And you only leave things out that you're okay with people possibly stealing, because that can happen, or they can accidentally take it home. Like, it happens. It's unfortunate. It's very rare that that happens, but you have to be prepared for the fact that it's a possibility of happening. So I always prepare everyone for that. And I've never had a client that has been like this one, where they just fail to comprehend and understand how that works. Any other client I've dealt with are like, yeah, I know. I totally get that. Like, I totally agree with that. I'm not going to keep anything out. But she just did not get it, which is why she continued to leave her stuff out and the crazy stuff out, which is why she got the results that she got. Yeah. That's just wild.
Yeah. And like, circling, that's just one story that I've dealt with recently. And, you know, circling back to the fact of, like, dealing with difficult clients, like, at the end of the day, like, that problem exists. Yeah. And it's just really about how you navigate that problem and how you handle it. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's not always going to work out all giddy. Like, this client, it did not work out giddy. She's not even a client anymore, but this person, it did not work out great at the end, that I just had to be like, I'm done with this conversation. I'm not going to go back and forth with you about it anymore. We're 3 months. This happened 3 months ago. And I've had some clients where I've had to have really difficult conversations with, where in terms of them disrespecting my team or cussing out my handyman. And I've had to have conversations with him. I'm like, hey, you can't do this. And I've even told my property managers, we do not give out our handyman information to any of our clients anymore, because that's just unacceptable. And I've had to have conversations with my clients and tell them, hey, you cannot do this. And I've even had to make the decision to where either, like, hey, I've even had to make the decision and tell them, hey, either you can stop doing this or I'm going to have to drop you as a client. But the thing is because at the time, which I'm kind of still... At the time, when I opened my business, I was the only company that did what I did. So he didn't have a lot of options. Yeah. And I was still growing my business, so I kind of needed the business as well, but I wasn't going to tolerate someone disrespecting my team. Yeah. And I had to have a tough conversation with him about it. And to this day, we still work together. He didn't leave me. And we're best friends, you would think. We are best friends, you would think. I mean, we have a great relationship that ended very well, but it was a tough conversation that I had to have with him.
Yeah, and the thing, to be honest with you, is sometimes you do have to have those clarifying, tough conversations with clients. And the right type of clients will respect you for it.
Correct.
And understand where you're coming from.
Correct.
The people that would never really work out with anyway, they're going to get upset, offended. There's always going to be a problem. So I would say...
You don't want them anyways.
No, and I mean, obviously you're not afraid, but generally people shouldn't be afraid to have those more hard, not even necessarily hard, but more direct conversations, because that way you're saving time up front and on the back end as well, because you don't want to waste their time or your time. You want to make sure everyone's protected. And
absolutely.
I think it's a smart way to do things.
I agree. And yes, I think everyone should have those conversations, but in the beginning, like for me to have this conversation, it was not easy at all. Like it was very difficult to have those conversations, even still sometimes occasionally. But they're difficult conversations to have, but they're necessary conversations to have, because if you don't have them, you'll end up with a client who's not going to be a good fit for you because they don't respect you, or you'll end up with someone who is willing to respect you because you've set the boundaries and you've told them like, hey, this is not allowed. You're not allowed to talk to my people like this. And they're like, okay, I get it. I respect it. But if you don't have those conversations, they're going to continue to do the same thing over and over again. And specifically like me, my employees are going to come to me and tell me like, hey, I'm having issues with this client because he's disrespecting me, da 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 da. And then you look like a terrible boss because you're not going to bat for them. I had that. I actually had that happen in the beginning of my property management company. I was not going to bat for my employees, and I had to learn how to do that because I can't allow my clients to be disrespectful to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it means you're a good business owner. Things like this come up, unfortunately, with the amount of business that you do, that we do every day. You're inevitably going to run into people that are, some people are crazy. Mm-hmm. Some people are simply just not a good fit, or sometimes their expectations are so crazy. They're going to have a very hard time finding any business or professional that will be able to satisfy all their standards. Of course, they want it for the cheapest, best price, too.
Right. I had a call like that earlier this week.
Yeah. And it's like, you want the top tier service for the cheapest price. You have called the wrong number, you know? But
I had someone call me earlier this week that wanted first time home buyer. She's paying cash. She wanted a five car garage home, 4-bedroom, under $500,000 in Atlanta.
No.
I'm like, you won't find a 5-car garage. I didn't say it like this though, but I'm thinking you won't find a 5-car garage home under $500,000 anywhere. And but she was very specific on what she wanted in the home. We're on the call. I was like, okay, walk me through kind of what you are wanting in this new home that you want. And she was like, I want 4 bedrooms. I want 2 stories. I'm like, okay, cool, that's doable. And 500. This is what I'm thinking. And then she's like, I want the master upstairs. I want you to walk up the stairs and the master be on the left. I want the master to have French doors. And I said, okay, I'm going to have to interrupt you for a second just to clarify some things. And I said, I want to make sure there's certain things that I can and can't search by in looking for a home for you. And also a lot of the features that you're mentioning you're talking about a custom build. If you want a custom build, that's different. Then we need to be looking for land so you can find a builder to build you your custom build.
And it's not going to be under $500,000, honey.
Look, we didn't have to get there. And you're going to have to find a builder to build you that custom build that you want. And I said, on the resale side, you're going to have to be more, you're going to have to maybe pick like 5 or 6 things that you absolutely have to have in your home. And you're talking like bedrooms, we're talking about square footage and that kind of stuff. That I can search by. But some of the specifics you're giving me, I cannot search by that.
French doors, maybe, depending on if it's in the description.
And she wanted the house painted a certain color.
Oh.
Like she was giving me that big, which I can tell she was a first time home buyer. This was her first time having this conversation, which is why I was going into it trying to educate her so she understood what she needed to be paying attention to. And I said, a lot of the stuff you mentioned, you could purchase a home under $500,000 if that's your budget, maybe $400,000, and then make the renovations that you want to make to specify exactly some of the stuff that you mentioned.
But that 5-car garage is going to be like $300,000 on its own.
I'm telling you.
So
and she was not happy with me. Not happy with me. She hung up on me because she was so annoyed. And I called her back because I thought we got disconnected. And she was like, she didn't answer the phone. So then she texted me and she was like, you're clearly not serious about helping me. I'm going to find me someone who is. And I was like, I am serious about helping you. I'm just trying to set the expectation for you of what you're actually going to find on the market. No response. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I just met you. You've already hung up on me. And I'm just trying to educate you on what to expect, because what I don't want to do is tell you, oh yeah, you can get a 5-car garage for $500,000, and we're looking for this unicorn that does not exist.
No,
I promise you, there's no $500,000 house with a 5-car garage, 4 bedrooms, 2 stories anywhere in Atlanta. Like that's just non-existent.
No,
and if it does, it probably needs another $500,000 worth of work.
And to be honest with you, the thing is, it's not really a loss, because let that person with unrealistic expectations go to another agent, Let them waste their time. Let that agent show them 10,000 homes, be yelled at, hung up on, rude to.
Mm-hmm.
No. And think about all the energy you're saving.
Well, I burned a lot of energy in that conversation. I was on the phone with her. I just summarized it for you, but I was on the phone with her for probably 20 minutes going through this criteria with her. And then she just was being really unrealistic and wasn't listening to me. So, I mean, I guess it worked out that she hung up on me and it didn't work out. But I was very frustrated when she hung up on me because I was like, that's disrespectful. And I just spent 20 minutes talking to you. But whatever. She probably thought I was being disrespectful too because I was educating her. But whatever. We're always wrong, right?
No. I mean, it's like I can't understand when people get upset that you're trying to just educate them. Mm-hmm. You're not telling them what to do. You're not... Correct. Necessarily even giving them advice. You're literally just setting the expectation and educating them because you are the professional. It's your industry that you work in, day out. Correct. They ask for your advice and then they're upset when you tell them the truth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, why did you hire me? If you don't want my advice and you don't want to listen to my advice, then I don't deserve a commission at that point because what did you hire me for? You don't even need me.
No, they want a yes man. They want a yes man that wants to tell them what they want to hear.
Somebody else. Mm-hmm. They're gonna have to find somebody else.
Yeah,
because that wouldn't be me. So I know we're kind of like all over the place, but I know the conversation was really just mostly about like trying to deal with difficult clients, and I just want to make sure we really
to understand that if you're a real estate professional or really in any industry, you're going to run into difficult clients.
Correct.
Clients that don't want to pay you, clients that are upset no matter what you do. I mean, countless scenarios. But then with all those clients, you also get the good ones that come in too. So it balances out over time.
100%.
But just know that you're not alone if you've had difficult clients or you're having a difficult client right now because we've all been there.
Correct.
So,
well, I enjoy telling you all my stories today.
I know.
I've had a rough week, clearly.
You and me both, girl. Well, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you for joining us. We're going to put out a new episode every Wednesday. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts and on social media.